Emma Chen had been in New York for exactly 3 hours when her life changed forever. She stood in the marble lobby of the Meridian Hotel, her ancient suitcase held together with duct tape, watching wealthy people glide past like they owned the, world. Maybe they did. She was here for one reason, a job interview at Lumiere, the kind of restaurant that didn't advertise because it didn't need to. Her culinary school friend had pulled strings to get her this chance, and she couldn't afford to mess it up. Literally couldn't afford it. Her savings account had exactly $47 left. That's when her suitcase zipper gave up completely. Her clothes exploded across the pristine floor like a yard sale had detonated. A stranger in an expensive suit rounded the corner at that exact moment, nearly tripping over her favorite chef's coat. He caught himself just in time, his polished shoes stopping inches from disaster. "Are you alone?" he asked, glancing nervously around the lobby. Emma looked up at him from her position on the floor, surrounded by chaos. "Excuse me? Need you to pretend to be my girlfriend? Just for 5 minutes. I'll pay you." She blinked. "Is this some kind of joke?" $5,000, he said, pulling out a money clip. "Cash. Right now." Emma's mouth went dry. $5,000 was rent for 2 months. Food, a chance to breathe. She looked at the man, really looked at him. Dark hair, sharp jawline, eyes that seemed genuinely desperate despite his calm exterior. "Why?" she whispered. "There's a woman by the elevators. Victoria Hartwell. She's about to destroy my restaurant because I called off my engagement to her daughter. If she sees me with you, it buys me time to figure out how to save everything. I've worked for her." Emma glanced toward the elevators. An elegant woman in a green coat was watching them intently, her expression predatory. "What do I have to do?" "Hold my hand, smile. Tell her we've been dating for 2 months. That's it." Practical side screamed. This was insane. But her empty bank account screamed louder. "Deal," she said. He pulled her to her feet with surprising gentleness. "I'm Luke Harrington. You're my girlfriend, Kate. We met at a wine tasting in Soho, Emma," she corrected automatically. "Today you're Kate, trust me." As they walked toward Victoria Hartwell, Emma felt something shift inside her. For the first time since arriving in New York, she wasn't just surviving, she was playing the game. She had no idea how high the stakes really were. "Luke, darling," Victoria Hartwell's voice cut through the hotel lobby like expensive perfume mixed with poison. "Who's this?" Emma felt Luke's hand tighten around hers. His palm was warm, steady, completely at odds with the tension radiating from his body. "Victoria, this is Kate, my girlfriend." Emma smiled the way she'd practiced in mirrors as a teenager, hoping it looked natural. "Mrs. Hartwell, Luke's told me so much about you." Victoria's eyes narrowed, scanning Emma from head to toe. "Has he? How interesting. And what do you do, Kate?" "I'm a chef. Just moved here from Chicago." "Chef," Victoria repeated, as if the word tasted sour. "How practical." "What?" Luke stepped slightly closer to Emma, his arm brushing hers. "What?" "Kate's incredibly talented. She's interviewing at Lumiere tomorrow." Emma's heart skipped. That was true, but how did he know? Lumiere, Victoria mused. Thomas Keller's protege runs that kitchen. It's very demanding, very exclusive. Shh. Very easy to lose if one doesn't have the right connections. The threat was subtle, but unmistakable. Emma felt her confidence waver for just a moment, then something sparked inside her. She'd grown up in her grandmother's restaurant, learned to read people before she learned to read menus. This woman was used to intimidating people, but Emma had dealt with worse. "I don't need connections," Emma said, her voice steady. "I need a good knife and fresh ingredients. Ow. Everything else is just noise." Victoria's eyebrows rose slightly. For the first time, she looked genuinely interested. "How refreshing," she said. "Most chefs in this city are all ego and Instagram." "Tell me, Kate, what's your signature dish?" Emma's mind raced. She thought of her grandmother's hands, weathered from years of cooking, teaching her that food was love made visible. "I don't have one," she said honestly. "I cook what people need. Sometimes that's comfort food that reminds them of home. Sometimes It's something they've never tasted before that makes them see the world differently. Good cooking isn't about showing off. It's about connection. Luke looked at her with something like amazement. Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Fascinating. She finally said, "Luke, we should have lunch soon. All three of us. I'd love to get to know Kate better." After Victoria glided away, Luke turned to Emma. "That was incredible. You didn't just play the part, you became someone else entirely." Emma looked down at their still joined hands. "Wait, maybe I became who I really am." But as they stood in the marble lobby, neither of them knew that Victoria Hartwell was already making phone calls. And Emma's job interview at Lumiere was about to become much more complicated than either of them imagined. The next morning, Emma stood outside Lumiere at 6 a.m., her knife roll slung over her shoulder. The restaurant looked like a fortress of glass and steel, intimidating even when closed. She'd barely slept, her mind spinning between the bizarre encounter with Luke and the career-defining interview ahead. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown. "Number, good luck today. You've got this." Luke, before she could respond, the restaurant's door opened. A tall man in chef's whites emerged, his expression unreadable. "Emma Chen." "You're early, yes, chef?" "Yes, chef," he studied her for a moment. "I had an interesting call last night. Victoria Hartwell seems to think you're someone I should know." Emma's stomach dropped. "Sir?" she said. "You're dating Luke Harrington? That true?" The lie felt heavier in the morning light. "Yes, chef. Interesting. Come in, we'll see if you can cook as well as you can network." The kitchen was a cathedral of stainless steel and precision. Emma felt at home for the first time since arriving in New York. This was her language, her world. Whatever games Victoria Hartwell was playing, they couldn't touch her here. "Make me lunch," Chef Beaumont said simply. "Whatever you want. You have 1 hour." Emma closed her eyes, thinking of her grandmother's voice. "Cook with your heart, not your head." She moved through the kitchen like she'd been there for years, her hands finding ingredients that sang to her. Fresh scallops, baby vegetables, herbs, that smelled like summer. She built flavors the way other people built arguments, layer by layer, each element supporting the next. When she placed the dish in front of Chef Beaumont, she knew she'd cook something special. Pansered scallops with cauliflower puree and microgreens, finished with a brown butter that tasted like childhood and possibility. He took one bite, then another. His expression never changed. "You're hired," he said finally. "Start Monday." Emma's knees nearly gave out. "Chef, I don't thank me yet. Victoria Hartwell has invested heavily in this restaurant. She's also made it clear that your boyfriend's success and your career are now connected. I hope you know what you're doing." As Emma left the restaurant, her phone rang. "Luke, how did it go?" "I got the job," she said, but her voice was flat. "That's amazing. We should celebrate, Luke. We need to talk. Victoria called my new boss. She's making this real whether we want it to be or not." There was a long pause. "Where are you?" "Central Park." "By the fountain. I'll be there in 10 minutes. When Luke arrived, he looked different. The polished confidence was gone, replaced by something raw and uncertain. He sat beside her on the bench, close enough that she could smell his cologne. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I never meant for it to go this far, but it has. She's not just watching us anymore, she's controlling us." Luke was quiet for a long moment. "There's something I didn't tell you yesterday, about why I really needed to get away from her." Emma turned to face him. "What?" "Victoria didn't just invest in my restaurant, she owns it. All of it. The engagement to her daughter was never about love. It was about control. When I called it off, she threatened to destroy everything I'd built. And now she's doing the same to me. I won't let that happen." Okay. Emma looked at him. Really looked at him. Yesterday, she'd seen a desperate stranger offering her money. Today, she saw a man who'd been trapped in a web of manipulation and power games just like her. "What do we do?" she asked. Luke's jaw tightened. "We beat her at her own game. That means making this look real. Completely real. For how long? As long as it takes." Emma stared at the fountain, watching water dance in the afternoon light. Yesterday, she'd been a broke chef with nothing to lose. Now she was tangled up with a man she barely knew, playing a dangerous game with someone who held both their futures in her hands. "Okay," she said finally. "But this time, we do it my way." Luke looked at her, something like hope flickering in his eyes. "What do you mean?" Emma stood up, brushing off her jeans. "I mean, if we're going to fake being in love, we better learn how to trust each other first. Starting now." 2 weeks later, Emma was chopping vegetables in Luke's kitchen when she realized she'd stopped pretending. It had started small. Coffee together in the mornings before her shifts at Lumiere. Luke walking her home after late nights in the kitchen. Conversations that stretched past midnight about dreams and fears and the weight of other people's expectations. They'd been careful, methodical, building a believable history of shared experiences, photos together at farmers markets, at dinner, at small restaurants where Victoria's spies might spot them. Luke even learned to cook, clumsy and endearing as he burned eggs and oversalted pasta. But somewhere between the staged moments and manufactured memories, something real had taken root. "You're thinking too hard," Luke said, coming up behind her. "I can hear your brain working from across the room." Emma set down her knife. "Victoria called today. She wants to have dinner tomorrow night at her house." Luke's face went carefully neutral. "What did you tell her?" "That we'd be there." "But Luke, I don't think I can do this anymore." "Do what?" Emma turned to face him. "Pretend. I don't know where the act ends and the real thing begins anymore." Something flickered in Luke's eyes. "And that scares you?" "Terrifies me." They stood in the kitchen, the space between them charged with everything they hadn't said. Luke reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. His touch was gentle, familiar. "Emma," he said quietly, "what if it wasn't pretending? What if we stopped trying to figure out what's real and just let it be whatever it is?" Before she could answer, her phone rang. "Chef Beaumont." "Emma, where are you? We need to talk. Now." 20 minutes later, Emma sat in the empty dining room of Lumiere, her hands shaking. Chef Beaumont's words echoed in her head. Victoria Hartwell pulled her investment. "As of tomorrow, this restaurant is closing. Sorry, but I have to let you go." Luke found her there an hour later, staring at the pristine white tablecloths. "She knows," Emma said without looking up. "Somehow she knows this isn't real." Luke sat beside her. "Or she's making sure it becomes real. This is what she does. She creates crisis and then offers solutions that benefit her." Well, it worked. "I lost my job. My work visa is tied to employment. I have 30 days to find something else, or I have to leave the country." Then we give her what she wants. Emma looked at him. "What?" "We get engaged, publicly. She gets her victory. You get to stay, and I keep my restaurant, Luke." "That's insane, is it? We're already living together. We know each other's coffee orders and pet peeves. You reorganized my spice cabinet without asking, and I didn't mind. I actually liked it." Emma laughed despite herself. "That's not love. That's compatibility. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's more than most people get." Emma studied his face. "You'd really do that? Marry a stranger to spite Victoria Hartwell? You're not a stranger anymore." "I'm not doing it to spite her. I'm doing it because the thought of you leaving makes me feel like I can't breathe." The words hung in the air between them. Emma felt something shift in her chest, like a door opening. "If we do this," she said slowly, "it has to be real. No more pretending. No more games. Just us, figuring it out as we go." Luke nodded. "Us." He pulled out his phone and dialed. "Victoria? It's Luke. Emma and I have news." That night, they lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Not touching, but close enough to feel each other's warmth. "Are we completely insane?" Emma whispered. "Probably," Luke said. "But I'd rather be insane with you than sane with anyone else." Emma rolled over to face him. "For the record, I think I was falling for you before we decided to make it real." "Good," Luke said, his voice soft in the darkness. "Because I was falling for you from the moment you told Victoria that cooking was about connection. I just didn't know it yet." Outside, New York glittered like a promise. Inside, two people who'd started as strangers began the complicated work of becoming something more. Together. 6 months later, Emma stood in the kitchen of Harrington Andon, watching Luke fumble with the espresso machine. Their restaurant was small, intimate, nothing like the sterile perfection of Lumiere. The walls were warm brick, the tables mismatched wood, and the open kitchen let diners watch the organized chaos of service. "You're going to burn the milk," she said, not looking up from her prep. "I've got it," Luke insisted, just as steam erupted from the machine. Emma laughed, the sound mixing with the morning bustle of their staff. They'd opened 3 months ago, after Victoria's attempt to control them had backfired spectacularly. Her public manipulation had been exposed by a food journalist who'd been following the story, and the resulting scandal had cost her more than she'd bargained for. Luke's old restaurant was thriving under new ownership, and Emma had found something better than a job working for someone else. She'd found a partner. "The Times-Critic is coming tonight," Marcus announced, sticking his head through the pass. He was their sous chef now, having followed Emma when she left Lumiere. "I know," Emma said, her voice calm. "We'll be ready." Luke appeared at her elbow, coffee cup in hand. "You always are." They moved through the kitchen in synchronized harmony, a dance they'd perfected over months of working side by side. Emma plated while Luke expedited, called out orders while she adjusted seasonings. They anticipated each other's needs without speaking, the way couples do after years, not months. That evening, as service wound down, Emma found herself watching Luke talk to a table of regulars. He was animated, gesturing with his hands, his face bright with the joy of sharing food with people who appreciated it. This was who he really was, she realized. Not the polished businessman who'd approached her in the hotel lobby, but this man who loved feeding people as much as she did. "The critic loved the lamb," Marcus said, appearing beside her, said it was transcendent, whatever. "That means," Emma smiled, "it means we did our job." Later, after the last customer had left and the kitchen was clean, Emma and Luke sat at the corner table sharing a bottle of wine. The restaurant was quiet, peaceful in the way only empty restaurants can be. "I got the final divorce papers today," Luke said quietly. "From Clarissa. She's happy, by the way. Married her college boyfriend last month." Emma nodded. "Good for her. I got something else." He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Emma's heart skipped. "Luke, I know we did everything backwards. Started with the wedding, then the relationship, then the falling in love. But I want to do this part right." He opened the box, revealing a simple solitaire that caught the light like captured starlight. "Emma Chen, will you marry me? Real this time?" Emma looked at the ring, then at Luke's face. 6 months ago, she'd been a broke chef with nothing to lose. Now, she was a business owner, a partner, someone who'd found her place in the world. But more than that, she was a woman who'd learned that sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places. "Yes," she said, laughing through tears she didn't know she was crying. "Yes, of course, yes." Luke slipped the ring onto her finger, and this time when he kissed her, there was nothing fake about it. It was real and warm, and tasted like wine. Impossibility. Outside, New York hummed with its endless energy. Inside, two people who'd started as strangers playing a game had become something neither of them had expected, a family. As they locked up the restaurant and walked home through the city streets, Emma thought about the suitcase that had exploded in the hotel lobby all those months ago. She'd been trying to hold her life together with duct tape and hope, but maybe sometimes you had to let things fall apart before you could build something better. "Hey, Luke," she said, squeezing his hand. "Yeah. Next time you need a fake girlfriend, maybe try online dating instead." Luke laughed, the sound echoing off the buildings around them. "I'll keep that in mind, but I think I'm good with the real thing." Emma smiled, thinking of her grandmother's voice. "Cook with your heart, not your head." She'd followed that advice. In the kitchen, and somehow, without meaning to, she'd followed it in love too. And it had led her exactly where she needed to be. Do you like this video? If the story touched your heart, subscribe for more emotional tales, and share with someone who believes in the power of true love, and let us know in the comments. We love connecting with our global community of romance lovers.